Hey, welcome to another video, and in this video I'm gonna discuss the features of Windows 11 and how Windows 11 is better for a developer compared to other OSs, either comparing it to Linux-based operating systems or Unix-based operating systems, or basically Mac OS. Now, between developers, Unix and Linux systems have been pretty standard for coding because they provide much more better functionality and way fast compiling times compared to Windows. So if you want to compile something in Windows, it's gonna take much more time as compared to Linux or Unix systems. So in a lot of companies, Mac OSs or basically MacBooks in general have been pretty common, and but with Windows 11 and the feature set that it provides, this could change drastically. So here are some features that Windows 11 provides, but some of them are from there in Windows 10, but those features were revamped way too much when Windows created Windows 11. So let's get into it. The first feature I would be discussing is the WSL or Windows Subsystem for Linux. Now, you may or may not have heard about WSL, but it's basically a Linux VM that we can create inside of Windows, but it is completely integrated with the file system, and it's a really lightweight virtual machine. Now, Windows added this feature in Windows 10, but in Windows 11, they have made the integration way better than what it was in Windows 10. To install it, you can just click on WSL install and you can select the distro that you want, or you can just go to Microsoft Store and search for WSL, and you can get a list of a bunch of distros that Windows provides by itself. They have Debian OSs, Fedora, Arch Linux, Ubuntu, and if you want a different image, then you can do a WSL list of all the images, or you can even create your own image out of that. So to get a glimpse of WSL, you can open your terminal and just say WSL, and this would start the virtual machine. Now, it hardly took a few seconds, and good luck getting that kind of speed with a complete full-fledged virtual machine on something like VirtualBox or VMware. Now, if I do a ls, now if you see here, it opened the WSL with the path mounted to my desktop. Now, if I go to MNT and do an ls, I have basically all the drive columns that are there in Windows. So I have complete access to those drive columns. Now, Windows implemented two different types of file systems with WSL version 1 and WSL version 2. WSL version 1 was basically the file system that Ubuntu used was on the Windows file system, but it used a network interface to connect to those files. Now, this was really slow because the network calls are way too slow compared to direct system calls. So, to make it faster, in WSL version 2, what they did was they put the Linux file system inside the virtual machine, but connected all the drives or files and folders that are stored on Windows file system with network interface. So depending on the type of use case that you have, WSL1 could be faster for you, but in general, for most of the times, WSL2 is way faster compared to 1. Now, this was there in Windows 10, but with Windows 11, they added a full-fledged file explorer integration for the WSL machines. So if you install WSL, then this Linux tab is gonna pop up, and these are the WSL images that I have. I have hosted Docker, so there are certain Docker images, but this is the image that I normally use. If I go in this, I can browse the home folder, what's there in it, and basically everything directly in the file explorer itself. So we don't have to depend on the terminal to access it. And we can get the command line interface of Linux in the goodness of Windows. Now, if you happen to use VS Code, then Another feature that you can get in VS Code is if you go in VS Code and search for WSL, not here in the extensions, if you search for WSL, then there is this extension that is installed, or you can install it if it's not by default. And basically, what you can do with this extension is the small thing is going to pop up, and if you click on this, you can connect to the WSL image. So if I click on this, it's gonna connect to the WSL image. You can obviously select what different image that you want. You can install and create backups of all the images. And if I open a new terminal, it is by default gonna open in the Linux distro. In this case being Ubuntu 22. So using this, you have basically the complete integration and you can run everything on a Linux OS, but being actually using Windows instead of the Linux UI or Ubuntu UI. Now you may see that it is a bit slower, but with the integration that Windows provides and the other features that just work, this could be a really good tool for you. Now, another benefit of using WSL is if I do, okay, let's just exit it and do WSL list. Okay, I think it's double hyphen. Okay, now I basically have two different Linux distros that are installed that are both Ubuntu 22. Now, using WSL features, you can basically take backups or basically export these distros that would export the entire file system and the entire OS with it. And you can use import to import the distro and create different copies of those distros. So what's going to happen is you can create different environments that are completely separate from each other. So you don't have to configure all the different versions of the OS, all the different software packages that you are installing, don't have to deal with the environment variables, and you can have separate partition systems that you can use for different software packages or something you are working on. Now, this could be really beneficial. So, let's say if you're working on a software package which includes, let's say, MySQL and some React framework to do the UI and Python for the backend, you can use one of the WSL image for just that. And if you are working on some other software package that includes, let's say, Node.js server with the Angular UI and MS SQL, then you can sign into the other image from the command line itself and you can install those software packages, and these software packages won't at all interfere with each other because they are essentially on two different virtual machines. So for me, WSL has been a really good tool that I tend to use almost each and every time and have basically shifted my entire programming work stack that is installed on a WSL machine, and I just use different machines for all the different things that I do. The next feature is the Windows terminal that they have implemented. Now again, this was already there in Windows 10, but in Windows 11 they have made the integration much better. If you may have used Windows Terminal or even tried to have used in Windows Terminal to bring this open in terminal context menu, it is really difficult to do it in Windows 10, but in Windows 11 it's there by default. If you just go to Microsoft Store, in case you don't have terminal installed in your machine, then you can just say terminal and the Windows terminal should pop up. You can just install it from here, and basically what you can do is if you click on open in terminal, then it's gonna open that folder with the path already there in the terminal, and by default it defaults to PowerShell, but I don't know why you would need the command prompt, but yeah, it's there. Using this, we can also directly open the Linux distros which we have installed with WSL, and it is completely integrated right here. Now, there are a lot of settings that you can customize it. You can select the default profile, default application, you can select which path that you want, and everything is just there and it just works with Windows 11. If you are thinking to shift to Windows laptop or Wanna try out Windows or need some convincing of why should you shift to Windows and not use macOS, then here's your motivation to do it. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Hit the subscribe button for more such videos and hit the like button if you like my video.